Hi everybody, Brent Jones, New Home Source Realty. How are you? Let's do a Facebook Live talking about solar panels and should you get solar panels on your house. Let's chat about the pros and the cons and the good and the bad. Before we get started, let's do the business side of this. Click notifications, follow me, like this video, and leave a comment. So let's chat about it. Solar panels. If you own a house, I can almost guarantee you somebody has shown up on your front porch wanting to talk to you or sell you solar panels. It's kind of the all new rage now. It's the new technology, and it's a hot topic and it's a hot product. I had an individual who wanted me to list their house for sale, and we were talking about it on the phone, and he mentioned to me, "Oh yeah, by the way, we got solar panels." I said, "Oh, great. What did that cost you?" He goes, "Oh, they were free." And I was thinking to myself, you know what? It's been a long time since I believed in Santa Claus. There is nothing that's free. So I kind of drilled down a little bit further and said, "Are you sure they were free?" Well, they did put a $25,000 lien on my house. I said, "Oh, okay, now we're getting to the real story." I think his interpretation of free was he didn't have to come out of pocket any. That doesn't mean it's free. Those solar panels are not free, I assure you. The solar panel company is going to put a lien on your house, somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000. And we will talk about what that means here in a minute if you ever want to go to sell your house. In addition to the cost of the solar panels, there's also a monthly fee. On average, about $150 a month for the maintenance, et cetera, the upkeep and all that kind of stuff. So trust me, friends, they are not cheap. If you were going to put your house on the market, do you know that the new buyer, this becomes a big issue for the new buyer. They now could no longer afford your house if there's a $30,000 lien on the property that they're going to have to assume. That could knock them out of qualifying for your house, for both the lien that's on the house and also for the monthly expense obligation as well. That could knock their debt to income ratio out of whack. So you could be losing potential buyers as well. Now, as with a lot of new technologies and new products, I mean, the sales pitch is, these things are going to reduce your electric bill down to nothing. As a matter of fact, it might even go backwards, and the electric company is going to be sending you a check every month. I think that's all complete nonsense. I do think it would reduce your electric bill some. Not nearly what the sales pitch is going to tell you it's going to be. I think it will reduce it some, but I think with that small savings, it's going to take a long time to pay all that back. And my understanding is the electric company is under no obligation to buy any of that. If for some reason it were to actually even turn your dial back, the electric company is under no obligation to buy any of that electricity back from you at all. So I think a lot of that is just kind of hype. Your HOA, if you live in an HOA, do you know that your HOA cannot prevent you from getting solar panels? Because I think it's a federal mandate that the HOA doesn't have the authority for you to not be able to make your house energy efficient. So they don't have the authority. But that's not really the issue. I personally think solar panels on a roof look ugly. To me, it looks like your roof has a tumor. I mean, they're just, it's an eyesore, I believe. It just doesn't look good. Now, let's talk about, you get solar panels and, on down the road here, you're going to want to sell your house, especially in this ridiculously hot market that we're in. You're going to want to sell your house. So how does having solar panels impact your ability to sell your house? Well, again, there is that lien. And there's also the monthly maintenance expense. When you go to sell your house, the title company does lots of different functions during a transaction. But one of the things is they look to see if there's liens against that property. And those liens have to be satisfied, or you can't close on the property. You can't sell your house if there's existing liens against the property. Somehow, some way, they have to be satisfied. And satisfying them would be, you as the seller would pay that off. You would pay that lien, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 at closing, or the buyer would agree to assume that lien, and the buyer would agree to assume the monthly expense as well. But one way or the other, either the seller has to satisfy that lien or the buyer has to agree in writing to accept and assume that. And here's another whole thing, that the buyer now, if he's going to assume that, he has a right to all the documents. He has a right to see everything you signed. He has a right to know exactly what they're costing and everything. You have a certain amount of time to get those documents to the buyer. If you don't, the buyer can terminate. After the buyer gets those documents, if he or she doesn't like the way they read, they can terminate the contract. So there's all kinds of new ways now that the buyer could terminate the contract just based solely on the solar panels. So here's my opinion. I do think solar panels are the way of the future. I do think that's where we're headed. My opinion is, I don't think the technology is quite where they want you to believe that it is just yet. I think in decades to come, I think it's quite possible. It used to be radiant barrier for houses was just a really cool thing. It makes the heat go outside the house. I think tankless water heaters are a really cool thing. And they make so much sense that now they just kind of come standard with new houses. I think solar panels in the future, in decades to come, will just come standard with houses. But we're not there yet. I remember the days, and I'm going to kind of date myself. I remember the days, believe it or not, when a computer would take up a whole room. And it would be resting on a false floor that was air conditioned, and they had to keep the air circulating so that the machine would not overheat. And you had those individual index card punch things in order to make it run. I know I just dated myself, but that's what computers used to be. And now this has a lot more capacity than what that computer ever had that filled up an entire room. So that's where we've come, and I think solar panels in the future will be as well. Solar panels now, they take up the whole west side of your house. I mean, they're just huge and just obtrusive and just aesthetically very unpleasing. But I think they will get, in decades to come, smaller and smaller and smaller and more efficient. I just don't think we're there yet. So my opinion would be, think long and hard before you sign up. Don't believe everything the sales pitch tells you. It's not nearly as good, and trust me, they are not free. So anyway, I hope this helps. Anything I can do to be of service to you, be happy to do so. Brent Jones, New Home Source Realty. Any questions, anything I can do, feel free to call 214-649-4528. Have a great day. Bye-bye.